I'm Mario Martinez Jr., CEO and founder of Vengreso, and we are the creators of FlyMessage.io, the free personal writing assistant and text expander application. On each episode of this podcast, you will hear from sales leaders, practitioners, and influencers to help you grow your sales numbers at scale. So, get your pen and paper or iPad and keyboard and start taking notes as you're now listening to the Modern Selling Podcast. Modern Selling Nation, welcome to this episode. I am so pumped because what we're going to be talking about today is all around AI and sales, personality, insights, leveraging these types of things to be able to get to our buyers quicker, faster, and better. And I couldn't think of anybody else than my friend, Mr. Amarpreet Kalkat. He is the CEO and founder of Humantic AI. And Amarpreet, welcome to the show, my friend.
Well, Mario, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to see you after many years and, be on this show. I have known this show for a while, and so being here today, I'm very excited about our chat.
Fantastic. Well, you guys have been doing a great job over at Humantic, and I know we're going to actually be meeting in the coming weeks to talk about how we partner together in actually utilizing some of your technology into FlyMessage, so that's pretty exciting as well. And all of you Modern Selling Nation listeners, FYI, something is coming into FlyMessage, which will be pretty cool. With that in mind, Amarpreet, just do me a favor, bro. Give me a little bit of background about yourself. Tell us a little about Humantic AI, and then I've got a very special question for you.
Well, so it's good. Let me start with myself. Second-time founder, been doing AI actively for 10 plus years. It surprises most people. But I think mostly AI is a new thing. This is my second AI startup. The first one, at some point, Forrester said this is one of the top 5 consumer intelligence AIs. That was 2018 or 19. Humantic AI, at one point, Wall Street Journal called it technology that could reshape the world. So fairly heavy words. We have to live up to some of those. So yes, been founder entrepreneur for a fairly long time. What is Humantic AI? What does Humantic AI do? So Humantic AI provides these set of previously, we say, impossible insights about the buyers to sellers. The core of it is a behavior prediction, personality prediction engine. But the way we see it, what it does for sellers is that it helps sellers know the buyers at a deeper level and move to what we call a buyer-first way of selling. So no more me this, me that, my medic, my qualification, my blah, blah, blah. It's about you, right? So I make it about you because that's how it should be, right? It should be about the buyers. So buyer-first is what we try to bring to the table for sellers.
Love that saying there, buyer first. And, you and I have been following each other for a long time. I talk a lot about show them that you know them. Yeah, show them that you know them. Or how about this one? To be interesting, you must be interested. And that's in that individual. With that in mind, we're going to get into some really good meat and potatoes here, but I do have something that all the Modern Selling Nation listeners want to know, and that is, tell us something nobody knows about you, even if they're looking at any or all of your social profiles.
Yeah, that's a hard one, but I think one that just come to my mind. So I think most of the people at this point, at least those who know me well enough, would know me, as a dog, person. I'm a big, huge German Shepherd. I think he's around 115 pounds, so big fellow. But I was not always, I used to be actually scared of dogs. My father had a German Shepherd and I would never go close, even when I was probably around 30 or so. So I don't think I've ever shared that one.
All right. Fair enough. So, and I'm sorry, this is when you were growing up, or this is the dog that you have now?
I have a Shepherd now, but even when I was grown up, like I'm 46 now, even when I was 30, 35, I would not go close to a dog at all. But now I have a huge, dog at home. So that's that.
You know, it's funny how many people actually have fears of dogs. And I've grown up with dogs my entire life, from Rottweilers to German Shepherds to now I've got two Maltipoos, which are, the 11 to 14-pound dogs that, sit on your lap, right? So I've had dogs all my life. And it's amazing to me. I've got a friend of ours whose son is deathly afraid of dogs. It's to the point that actually they don't even want to come over the home because of the dogs, even if I put them in a separate room. So it's funny to me that, this fear of dogs could actually really exist. And I've never had these types of fears before. And it's sad, too, if there was a bad experience, of course, for somebody.
Yeah, it happens. But sometimes it's just there, right? I mean, sometimes some things happen. My sister's, same. She came over once and, it was hard. She was going to stay with us for a while, and we couldn't just keep the dog outside or something like that. So if you're scared of dogs, it is very hard to get over. But once you get over, like, she stayed with us for 2 weeks, and from being scared of dogs, she was like, on the way back, she was like, I think I can have a dog. Dogs are lovely creatures, right? Anyone who's, and I have seen that firsthand.
Especially when they lick your feet. Okay, all of you listening are probably grossed out by that.
That is not even the grossest thing. The grossest thing I feel about dogs is sometimes I'll be on the bed. I don't know, this fellow, sometimes he'll come and give me a lick on like I'm sleeping, right on the face. I hate that.
Yeah, that big tongue sticking right across the face. I hear you on that one. My wife gets pretty grossed out when the dogs are licking on the kids, and she's like, "Stop it!"
Yeah, that still grosses me out.
All right, let's get into some topics of conversation here centered around AI. You guys, obviously, Humantic, what you've been doing with AI personality insights and really helping to understand buyer level insights before a seller engages. First off, let's rewind. Let's take a step back and just talk through about your take on the whole AI thing in sales. What is good? What's bad? What's working? What's not?
So I don't think I'll get tired talking of this, but this is my third such conversation just today morning. I have spoken to 2 customers, like not about the product, but about AI, which also tells you I talk about this topic often. I write about this topic often. It's a bit of a plug, but I have a Substack where I write about it every month. One new topic, relevant to. It's called Sold with AI. So I pick it up. Hence, I've spoken about the topic a few times. At one level, AI is another technology, I would say, right? At one level. But at another level, it's a step change. It's a huge, huge step change compared to anything that we have seen since internet, or maybe I think personally it's bigger than internet. Yeah, that's the way I see it. So it's really, really big. So I think using it well, and I'm seeing maybe people, this is not a deep insight, but using it well is the key. We have gone overboard with too many technologies as salespeople. I'm talking about as a seller, right? Automation, for example. I was having a chat about automation, just today morning about AI agents. Should we use them? Should we not? That was the topic. I think it's very easy to go overboard. Most of the views I see around are not nuanced. They are painted with very broad strokes. AI is great. AI is bad. We should do this. We should do that. We should only do this. No, nuance is important. Nuance is very important. In sales, doing only what you would do to yourself. Put yourself in the seller's shoes. If you would not want to receive an email, please don't send it out. If you would not want to receive a call, please, for God's sake, don't make that call. So I would say those basics we need to go to. AI is great. Automation's great. I'm a big fan of automation, but I would say intelligent, thoughtful automation is the way to go, not stupid, dumb things that we have actually done in the past, in the last, especially 10, 15 years.
Unfortunately, the mindset is more is better. Spray and pray.
That's the problem. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Just put yourself on the other side of the table. That is a very, very simple thumb rule to use, right? I was saying in the morning, have one good reason. I call it one good reason. Please don't reach out to someone if you don't have at least one good reason to reach out. Just because you can doesn't mean that you should. So that thoughtfulness is the key. Thinking, from your perspective, I am in San Francisco right now. I split my time between India and San Francisco. 4 a.m. I'm getting, spam calls from India on my India phone number. Hate that. Hate that. I would not want to be a company that makes such calls. It's as simple as that. So that's what I would, we'll talk more about, how you can do and what's possible. But at the basics, fundamentally, I think we have to get some fundamentals right. Let's not screw it up, like we did last time, I would say, if you're listening as a seller or a sales leader.
So what do you think are some of the biggest opportunities and the biggest risks of AI when it comes to this our sales line of business?
So, Mario, at this point, I would say intelligence is becoming easy to obtain. 5 to 10 years ago, data became easy, right? So data and intelligence, people treat the same way. They're not the same thing. They're two different things. When ZoomInfo gives you someone's phone number or email ID, that's data, right? When Humantic AI gives you, how to talk to someone, that is an insight, right? It's not data. It's a derived, it's an insight. So insight is intelligence. So intelligence is becoming, easily available. We need to use intelligence wisely. There's some great tools coming around, from, intent to engagement to whatnot. Why can't, people are talking about signal-based selling, for example. Why can't we start combining some of those signals, start looking at those, not just say, this is my ICP. Oh, my ICP is companies between 50 to 200 employees, in San Francisco city and who are in the, insurance market. No, that's a starting point, right? Can't we pile on, more signals? For example, we've discovered at Humantic AI, while theoretically we're a great fit for SDRs and whatnot, we've analyzed data. We've seen our average user is 37 years old. They are between 35 and 45, 80% of the time. They are typically large deal enterprise sellers. They are in the habit of walking in prepared. I'm talking about user psychology, psychometrics. They are typically trained on Medix, Sandler, Medpic, Spice, Challenger. That gives us so much more signal to not reach out to everyone and spam them. Because now when we reach out to this person and they see this, they're like, oh, I have been great at account level planning and, research. Holy crap, I've never had this level of insight into people, which for my selling is critical, right? We are not spamming them at that point, whether they can buy us or not. At that point, they're almost thankful that, there's an option like this. So not everyone will buy, which is okay. So it goes back to going deeper because intelligence is there. I think that's one thing. People, we are all humans. We're all in the habit of, plucking the low-hanging fruit, taking the easy way. One wise person, I think I read or someone said, all other things being equal, if you have a choice between the easy way and the hard way, guess which one is the better way? It's the hard way. All other things being equal. I know no one wants to do that, but if all other things are equal, you've no better reason to go, take the easy way. Hard way is often enough. So we should run after the easy choices, low-hanging fruit. We should be more thoughtful.
So looking at doing thoughtful engagement, one of the big challenges that we see right now is the AI SDR is coming forth and utilizing these tools to be able to send messages out. And some of the messages they make sense. Some of them don't make sense. Some of it is just a spray and pray. And I get the reason why. Like, I can end up, creating 100 mailboxes if I want to, pay $8 a month to Gmail and send out easily 100 to 500 messages a day per mailbox, and really start to engage in a very different way to save costs on a person, right? What do you specifically think about the AI SDR?
So I have a whole post on AI SDR. Like, if you go to my, Substack, you'll see, 500 word, 1,000 word article on AI SDR. In short, AI SDRs here I don't think it's fully ready. I think it is ready enough that it is better than a bad SDR, which unfortunately is 80% of the SDRs. And that's why people are looking at it. It is not even as good as an average SDR today, but it's getting better. Right now, it's a hit and miss. Yeah, there could be one email that's very well written. And by the way, Humantic AI writes emails, and for the most part, it writes good emails, right? But there could be, one or two that are really bad, illogical. There could be some that are just about average. So I think that's where the AI SDR is today, better than an app, poor SDR, about okay or getting close to average SDR, far, far from a good SDR. And it's much better to have good SDRs, to train good SDRs, than I would say it is to go for AI SDR. I think people would end up, and that's, again, like I said, a lot of detail there. A lot of people are talking about either AI SDR replacing SDR or not replacing, they're two camps emerging. I don't think that's going to be the case. I see it as expansion. I see AI SDRs getting deployed alongside human SDRs for large volume plays, low hanging fruit, low value leads, etc. Whereas human SDRs assisted by AI would continue to play a pretty significant role, I believe, for the valuable leads. I don't see people, wanting to do that, or even AI technology being ready to do that, at least yet.
Is there any possibility in the future that the AI SDR prepares the message, but before it sends out, even if it's on automation through autopilot, before it goes to send out, there's a validation point. Humantic AI comes in and looks at how to change that particular message based upon the personality insights that it discovers about me, Mario Martinez. And that's all done behind the scenes without an SDR having to manually look over the information. Is that a future life, something to come? Or do you think that that's here already?
I think it's already happening at some level. See, right now we are in the wild, wild west of AI. Those of who are old enough, and Mario, I think you and I are old enough, we saw the .com boom and websites. Like what's happening in AI was happening with websites, back in the day, just because you could build a website. So right now, everyone's claiming to be AI. Everyone's claiming to be, I've built an AI agent. Not everything technically would qualify as an AI agent. A good AI agent should be doing that today. In fact, is doing that today. How well is the question? Like I said, not super well. It is getting better. It will keep getting better. I don't expect it to get perfect, but neither is a human perfect, right? So at some point it will be, today it's better than, like I said, a majority of the SDRs, but only because majority, unfortunately, are bad. Again, I don't blame the people. I blame the process mostly. We've just made them, run the cadence, send out 1,000 emails, make 5,000 calls. The mindset is just about do more. As you said, people just choose to do more. They don't know that doing less sometimes is the way to go. So these things are happening. They will get better. It'll keep getting better and better. At one point, we would say, okay, this is just so good. But I would say the future would still, things will evolve, but it's going to be a combination of both that is going to do the most work.
And what do you think are some of the biggest risks that the biggest risk of AI when it comes to the sales space?
I think the people-related changes are really the biggest one, right? And we're seeing some of that happening. I think some leaders are more trigger-happy than others right now. If someone's replacing a lot of people with AI already, I would think that that's a trigger-happy leader, because I don't think AI has proven itself at that level. Last 3-4 months, if you see that small throw of disillusionment about AI is beginning to come in. I shared about that. I think around 1 year ago, Goldman Sachs did a report, said AI will increase world's GDP by 7%. I think they just did a report a month ago. They said, oops, sorry, it'll be only 0.5%. So I think it'll be somewhere in between both in reality. But, that's what seems to be happening out there, right now.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we're seeing is for example, as you know, Fly Message has AI built into its LinkedIn commenting and LinkedIn post creation capability sets, right? And the whole idea is the biggest challenge that we saw with people who are trying to engage through LinkedIn is that if I go to your profile, Amarpreet, as an example, I have to go to your profile, look at your activity, read every one of the posts, determine which one I'm going to actually write a comment on, then sit there and think, what do I write? And that's one of the biggest challenges is that we saw was that sellers would take 6 to 12 minutes to write one comment per customer, per prospect. And so the problem that happened there was that individuals didn't do it. All they did was simply like a post. So thinking that, inside their cadence, it says inside their social engagement, right? And so we have BDR teams, sales reps teams that are using Outreach, SalesLoft, or any of the other sales engagement tools. And you've got this sales engagement step, but nobody, one, is validating what exactly are you saying to really open up that channel. So we built out the AI and we modeled 7 years of social selling training into the AI so that you actually literally, it feels like you've got Mario Martinez writing a response back for you. Okay. The number one complaint that we get now is, oh, but that's not exactly the way I would say it. Well, let's think about this. What did you do before? Nothing. So what do you have now? Something. But now what you want to be thinking about is how do I edit this so that it sounds like me? Now, are there things that we can do? And it's, as an example, one of the things that we're bringing out is what's called building in personas so that you can structure the AI to write as if it was you and your persona or corporate persona. Those are things that actually are forthcoming in development literally right now. But what we always tell people is that, look, AI doesn't replace the salesperson. AI augments the salesperson. And this is human-assisted AI. So the thing that people have asked us for was, can you automate commenting on LinkedIn posts? The answer is, yes, of course I could automate that. You can do that with technology. You can do anything with technology. But no, I'm not. Why? All right. Anybody who keeps saying, how do I automate this so I can just hit go, hit the button? You're thinking incorrectly. This is my opinion, Amarpreet. I'd love your opinion on this. Your thinking is wrong, because if I only needed a bot to go out and do all of these activities and automate this, then I don't need you. But what I want is before something gets posted, before you send that email, before you actually comment, I want you to read the output, and I want you to use now the human brain to connect information with responses. And I think that's super critical. And that's the missing mark right now, is that we need to go from using AI to do our job to thinking human-assisted AI to assist me better in doing my job. What are your thoughts on that?
So we are on the same page because we are in the, assisted AI camp. So there's two kinds of AI, I say replacive and assistive AI. What you just spoke about is assistive AI. Humantic AI is assistive AI. We believe that is the way of the future. I am not saying there will be no replacive AI. I am not saying some of that will not be useful. I think that's going to be there too. But I think this is a better approach. Hence, we are taking that approach. I mean, we're walking that talk, literally, we call ourselves an assistant, right, to salespeople. So that's second. I also think that makes the change very easy for people as well as leaders, rather than, a replacive approach. So if I'm talking to a leader, I say, look, you can do both. There are both kind of options. Like an AI SDR fundamentally is replacive, right? Because it's supposed to be replacing an SDR. That's the whole point. Whereas what you're doing, what we are doing is not. And so my suggestion normally is saying, look, start with an assistive approach. That is much easier for people. It is much better. Then consider replacive approach. That needs a lot more thought, lot more, scrutiny, analysis. The risks there are much greater. The impact there is, much greater, both positively and negatively. So assistive is the way to go. Replacive will come. It goes back to, I think you'll hear from me, a dozen times on this call. I would go back to doing things again in a, thoughtful manner, in a, intentional manner. If the goal is just to take shortcuts to get to that final point, that is when we will make mistakes. The mistakes are not in choosing assistive or replacive, but the mistake is going to be if we are trying to find shortcuts to get to that goal. But I think assistive is the way to go. It is going to be the dominant form of AI in most parts. I mean, all we have to do, let me make it clearer, if someone's thinking about it. Take an analogy. See, analogies are great, right? The world keeps changing, but it also repeats, in some ways. What has happened in factories? Robots have come in, right? I mean, machines have come in. Okay, let's not call it robots, for a minute. That's machines. I mean, they've come in. Did factories, 200, 250 years ago, those cloth mills and, in Manchester and whatnot, they didn't really have like what you call machines. Like, they had far, far less. I mean, literally, you could not call something like, that thing a machine. So machines are everywhere. Do factories employ less people today than, that time ago? No, a lot more people. I talk about, in my AI SDR post, I wrote about, like, right now there are more horses in the world than either 1950, or 1850. I mean, horses should have, yes, in between 1922 was the peak of horses, and then car did replace horses. My point is that consumption, right, expands a lot. That is, consumption expansion is the most important thing that people forget. So hence, people would continue, to sell, just like people have continued to flourish in factories, although machines would play an important role. Some work will be pure taken up by machines. That's the replacement. But many other opportunities will emerge for people to take up. And overall, it is going to be more people, not less people.
I love your insights there. I want to kind of tease this concept out about human-assisted AI and talk about how that plays into buyer intelligence. And first off, talk about what is buyer intelligence and what does that mean for the individual seller? Like, how do I use it? What's the point? When do I use it? Break it down for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, what is buyer intelligence? Simply put, buyer intelligence is this ability to know your buyer at a much, much deeper and, fundamental level. So that's buyer intelligence. Know your buyers much better. It starts by caring about them, by the way, right? Because if you don't care about your buyers, you don't need buyer intelligence. Only someone who says, I care about my buyers. So then you say, okay, how do I get to know them better, understand them better? So that's, buyer intelligence. What does buyer intelligence do? What does it lead to, as a seller potentially who's, listening to this conversation? So we are salespeople, right? We're in the business of acquiring revenue. We're in the business of acquiring more revenue, hitting the quotas, crushing the quotas, all of that good stuff. At some level, you could say there are two ways of, bringing in more revenue. One is by selling more. And that's what most of us try to do. But there is actually another way. It's by helping your buyers buy more. It's the same thing. It's the same thing, but it's a fundamentally different mindset. And the beauty, which is a hidden secret, what's not a hidden secret, first of all, at least if you read around, you will know. Take any company, almost any company, 80% of the revenue is being brought in by 20% of the people, right? That Pareto principle at play. If anything, Pavilion did a report, I think it said 83% being brought in by 19% or something of that sort. And top sellers, Mario, and you probably seen enough of those, done it yourself. Top sellers, their win rates will be like 50, 60%, whereas the average seller is struggling at like 15, 20%. Why is there a 4x difference? Our take is, and we believe the big missing piece is this ability to put the buyers first. Ask any senior leader, successful leader, those people, take a look at anyone, that you look up to as a sales coach, mentor, etc. Show me one person who says, don't give a damn to your buyer, right? They say the opposite. Just make it about them. So that is what our belief is. That's what we have seen I have seen as an engineer, turned seller, when you start putting people first, it just becomes beautiful. It becomes magical. And buyer intelligence is nothing but a way of building that buyer first approach. Because when you walk into a meeting, you spend 30 seconds looking at someone's profile and say, okay, this is what matters to this person. This is what doesn't matter. Hence, I should say this, not say that. Right? Simple things. It's not about you, your process, your qualification methodology, your medics, your medpics. No, buyer doesn't care. It's about, we think of stages in terms of our stages. It's about the buyer. So that's what buyer first selling is. You put the buyer first, you put their interest first, you put them first, you understand what matters to them. And then the things that you do are aligned with that rather than aligned with your interests first. Your interests matter, but the buyer's interests matter before yours.
Can you give an example of how this would work? And everybody knows, Modern Selling Nation knows that I don't do product plugs, right? And so I want to be very balanced about this because I do love Humantic and it does give valuable insights and it helps me to engage in a very specific way. But using Humantic, how would a seller apply what it is that you just talked about?
I don't have to talk about a seller. I'll take myself as a seller, right? I'm the number one. Call me Humantic seller number one, right? I have to eat that dog food every day. Otherwise, why would I build it? I can give you probably 3 examples just from today, but I'll take a example. A couple of days ago, publicly listed company. They probably do around $1 billion in revenues. Technology space, developer tools, etc. Sales team loves us. So BD team is engaged with us. They love us. Their sales team has told them, hey, build a more deeper selling motion, right? So, and they found Humantic here. They said, this is what it is. We got on a call. There are sales enablement leaders there, RevOps leaders there. And they're like, look, we've got too many tools. Our guys anyway don't use it. And that happens everywhere, right? So RevOps is like, we don't want another tool, even if our sales team comes and recommends. It depends on who has more say and, a need, etc. And the leader that I was talking to, I think the RevOps or enablement, one of the leaders, he said, what's special about your product? I said, look, I am not going to give you some big stories. I said, I can give you some big logos, big names. I said, I'm not going to. Okay. Humantic's already told me that you have a very, very analytical approach. You also are slightly skeptical. I said, so I am going to, if I give you anything, you're going to call me out as a bullshit guy and I will lose all trust. And see, that's at that point, my deal's hanging, right? Sales team loves it. I've had enough deals being blocked by RevOps. They're saying, you know what? We don't have the bandwidth. We're not pursuing this. Or anyone who sells to mid-sized or enterprise companies, knows this thing. And this person, he just smiles. He's like, you know what? You got me. So I said, now imagine what if your sellers could do this for every opportunity, right? So that's just one example right there. You don't have to tell the person, right? In every case, this was me just explaining the product. But if you take that approach, if you are, I can be pretty energetic, as probably you can guess. But what if you're talking to someone who's a very, very, soft, calm person who likes to think things through, takes forever, maybe has been at the same company for 21 years. You go in all guns blazing. I can tell you, you will lose trust in 3 minutes, right? But if you go and say, look, we are a popular product, people love us, but I also understand that, you need to be sure about us. Not everyone can just, shoot from the hip, and maybe you like to do things properly. I am here, Mario. I'm here to work with you, help you answer all questions. We are not in a rush. Imagine the trust where that person says, I like these people I can work with, right? So it's about establishing trust at the end of the day and being genuine about it, not just being like, what will get me the deal, but I think that we have to inculcate as a value. Tools can only help us.
I think one of the big challenges that exists in understanding insights about your particular buyer and how to adjust your messaging is number one, it needs to be in the workflow, meaning where I'm communicating with my buyer at, whether it be on Salesforce, whether it be in LinkedIn, whether
Extremely
it be
important. Extremely important.
wherever I'm at, I need to be able to have those insights. The second thing that I think is challenging is I can read the insights, but now what do I do with them? And tools and technology need to help me say, here's, and the best example I can think of, and it's so simplistic, is if I were to send you an email, I write all my emails with, hey, Amarpreet, exclamation point.
Yeah.
But what if, to your point, you're kind of a low-key type of guy, you know, that's a little bit too aggressive. Based on personality insights, it tells me that. Well, what I want these tools to do is to say, you know what? Not only do you have this information, but I'm going to tell you now, based upon that email, I want you to slow your roll and change it to hello, Amarpreet, comma, not hey, Amarpreet, exclamation.
Humantic actually does. I mean, I think you're familiar. Humantic actually does that. You know, I was on a call once. One person says, you know, hey, it makes the tone a little too informal. And I said that it does that when it knows that the recipient, like, for example, Mario, you'll probably, you know, prefer, all of the things being equal, a slightly informal, right, kind of a tone compared to, you know, very boring, formal, you know, structured, you know, sort of a thing. And there was another person on the same call. He's like, I love that. And that person was, I said, that's because you are like that, you know. So it was three different people. One person said, I think it's bad if you don't start with, I hope you're doing well today. One person who said it's, I mean, normally we say it's super bad, right? But no, it's not super bad with everyone. There is a person out there for whom, dear Mario, I hope you're doing well today, is actually a good start. And this is so again, goes back to, and we hear this from our users. They'll be like, I think Humantic's not talking in my language. I'm like, look, I get you. But between your language and your buyer's language, you know, guess which one matters more, right? Yes, you feel good if it's written in your language, and I'm not saying it should not be. Like, I tend to be to the point. My mails generally don't go, hey, Mario. My mails would be, Mario, this, that, good stuff. Let's do this, right? Half that, there are enough people out there, this is going to, you know, look at least abrupt, if not, you know, disrespectful. So all these small things, you know, they actually add up. Experienced sellers know that. I think young sellers probably takes a little bit of time to learn.
So I'm going to give an illustration here. So this is actually a good one. This is how insights works, right? I know who you are. I send a message on Tuesday in September, and I say, Amarpreet, by chance, are you going to SaaStr or Dreamforce this month? Question mark. It's all I write. And that's because you're a cut to the chase type of guy. Boom, boom, boom. Why are you messaging me? You got 1,000 emails and you're trying to make deals happen, and you're a founder-led sales organization, right? So I cut to the chase. You write back, and this is what I love about this. SaaStr, no. Dreamforce, yes. What about you, Mario? So you cut out the frills and the thrills, which I'm okay with because I'm a cut to the chase, direct approach type of guy. But you did include my name inside there, which gave me a little bit of personalized feeling like, okay, you know, he knows who I am, right? And then I say both, although I don't have a ticket to Dreamforce. Hey, I love to connect either way. Let's have a conversation. You write back, no worries. Let's find a time. How's this date at this time? I write back, done. So if you think about that, now we are partners, customers. And so if you think about that, if you understand the personality of the individual you're dealing with, I didn't have to write, hey, Amarpreet, exclamation point. Hope you're doing fantastic. How's business going? Question mark. Because I feel that that's the right way to engage you. No, the right way to engage is based upon the buyer that you're working with. Now, you're not my, quote, buyer. You are a partner of ours. But with that in mind, if you were a buyer, to your point, we can take out the frills and thrills. But there may be that individual where I would say, dear Amarpreet, I hope you're doing fantastic. I hope the last time we talked, you mentioned your kid was da-da-da-da-da-da. How did that go? Now, that might be important to some buyers, but others it's not. And so the way we think we should receive the message is not the same way that a customer would receive the message. And oh, by the way, customer A is different than customer B, who's different than customer C, who's different than customer D. And that's the power of bringing in some of these personality insights, is being able to do that. But I do have a question for you, and something that I'm challenged with, whether I'm using your tool or any of the competitor tools out there. what do I do when there's no insights? What happens if there's no information on this particular buyer, or I can't get the tools and platforms can't get a read on that person? What should I do then?
We partially solved that problem, partially we're working on it. So what's the part that we have solved? It's a decent solution, not a great solution, but decent solution. We've solved, for example, the email, problem. There's enough data that says on the average, for example, our, friends at Lavender, publish a lot of insights. Salesloft, does that. Outreach does that. Probably if you know SDR stuff, you read, a little bit. A 2-word subject line is better than a 5-word subject line. A 100-word email or 80-word email is better than a 200-word email, etc., etc. So those things we've done. So we call that, instead of personalization, we at least do optimization, right? So we will still write something that's probably better than 90-95% of SDRs will write. It's not the best possible thing. So that problem we've solved in a decent way. Could be better. We'll make it better. We can't give insights about at that, point. And some, we have some users selling to like traditional industries, and they tend to, suffer in that sense, because once you get used to this, it feels awkward, almost weird, right? To walk into a meeting without seeing someone's profile. You feel like it's like running blind, right? You've got a blindfold.
Like you're naked.
I was gonna say that. I actually didn't use the.
Go ahead. It's okay. We can say it.
So yeah. So it's like it feels being a little, honestly, a little naked. So what we're working on is where we want to, kind of increase what we call our data catchment area. So, for example, this, call, a Zoom call, the video, the audio, my facial, expressions, yours, audio, everything is a signal. So we want to bring that in. In fact, we think that'll make what we have better, because today what we have, in some ways we call it static buyer intelligence, right? It says this is how Mario is, and it's incredibly useful. Let me be clear, because personality is the lens through which we see our life, right? So 80% of our decisions are heavily, personality influenced, whether we realize or not. But maybe I'm a, super friendly guy, but I just had a fight with my wife today morning, right? And now I'm in a bad mood in this particular meeting. So that we see as dynamic buyer intelligence. So one, we can learn about you in general from that. But second, we can also learn about you right here. So that is something that we are actually bringing in. So that's something I think probably early next year we will put that out.
So at a very base minimum, the key is if you don't have buyer intelligence specific to that individual buyer, then let's optimize the message before it goes out. To your point, how many words are there? How many in the actual message? What does the subject line look like? Could it be, better constructed? On that note, interestingly enough, so we subscribe, of course, to the 2 to 6 words inside of a subject line. 1 to 3 perform better generally than 4 to 6. And then 111 words or less. Some people are saying 70 to 80 now, but 111 words is and less is really that target for a message right there. Interestingly enough, subject lines now for the last 4 months of performance that had anywhere between 4 to 8 words in the subject line have been performing much higher than those with just a few words. And for us personally, through all of our messaging and marketing and email marketing, and it's very interesting because I have been looking at why is this taking place, and what I'm seeing is that these longer subject lines are actually engaging the individual buyers on our newsletters or our messages more, and they're opting to click it because now we've piqued enough of their interest, as opposed to one-word subject lines like podcast, your pipeline, those types of things. And so it's been very interesting to see that more is performing better. And I don't have enough data for this because certainly the folks like Outreach and Apollo and others have this data. But I thought I would mention that I've saw this trend now for the last 4 months, and it's been really eerie about how this is actually performing.
Well, I'll share a comment. I mean, I have a quick take on this thing. See, there, there are certain things that are tactics, and there are certain things that are fundamentals, right? Or concepts. Okay, let me call it tactics and concepts, right? Two different things. Concepts tend to be fundamental. Tactics, they tend to be temporary. I think the 2-word thing, 4-word thing, 6-word thing, to me, that's a tactic. Whereas pattern interrupt, for example, right, is, to me, it's a concept, right? It's a fundamental. So if everyone is wearing a black t-shirt, guess who's going to stand out? White, orange, right? If everyone is wearing an orange, who's going to stand out now, right? So to me, I don't know. I haven't looked into this data. We generally don't go into the tactics that much. We focus on fundamentals and helping sellers improve their fundamentals, like go buyer first and, all that good stuff. But I think tactics, come and go. Yeah, it's a good thing. But to me, it's too much. Like I would not bother so much about leveraging the tactic of the day. I think the tools could and should, because they easily can, right? Why not? If there is a benefit somewhere, then why not? But again, if you go back, right, Mario, what you were saying earlier, and it's not that there wasn't a person 6 months or 12 months ago for whom 8 words would not be better than 2 words, and vice versa, right? That's the problem with most statistics, that they are generalized, right? In fact, I can go on. That's the problem with most advice, that it is generalized. It's not specific. And everything has an exception. And the crazy thing is, the success comes from exceptions, not from, generality. Whereas what you get for the most part is generality. It does okay, but real success comes from, doing contrary things, doing specific things, precise things, being the guy with the orange, Vengreso t-shirt, in a sea of, blacks and, whites and sky blues. So that's kind of just a difference to keep in mind between tactics, which are good to have, versus concepts, which I would think are a must-have.
Excellent conversation, Amarpreet. I appreciate you spending time with us. So if someone's trying to connect with you or wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way? Is it through LinkedIn? Is it through Twitter, X, or how do they get connected to you?
LinkedIn and Twitter both work great. LinkedIn probably, I think, is where I'm most active. I used to be the only Amarpreet Kalkat. I recently found another Amarpreet Kalkat in New Zealand. So, but I'm still probably the more popular one. So Amarpreet Kalkat, if you look, LinkedIn is a great place. Twitter also, I'm reasonably active. I'm not active on any other, platform. So both of them work absolutely.
So if you're looking for Amarpreet, it's Amarpreet and Kalkat, Kalkat. And please, Modern Selling Nation, when you reach out to my man Amarpreet, make sure you say, I heard you on the Modern Selling Podcast, so that he knows where you're coming from. A personalized connection request, only personalized connection request. That is the only way to go about engaging with your target buyer. Amarpreet, I got one last question for you, buddy, and that is your all-time favorite movie. What is it?
That's a hard one. That's a hard one. So I don't know if this is literally, but it'll definitely be top 5, I think, any day. And maybe it is the number 1. Long time ago, there was a movie called Man of Honor. I don't know if you heard of it or watched it. I'm a big fan of that movie. Love that movie. It's actually based on a true story. Yeah. So that I would probably is my all-time favorite.
I'm not even sure. I'd have to look at it. I'm so bad with remembering names of people, names of movie. But if I see a preview, I'm like, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it's like I said, I'm bad too. But that's why I'm not sure if it really is. It's definitely top 5. It's Robert De Niro, Cuba Gooding Jr. Some fantastic actors. True story.
Oh, is that the Navy SEAL?
Yes, master diver.
Master diver. Yes.
First black guy to become Navy master diver.
Yes. And he was the first black man to be able to do that, right? Yes, I've seen that movie. Yes, exactly. See that? There you go. I had to think about it. Man of Honor. I love that. Yes. In fact, I just saw a preview of that on TikTok the other day while I was scrolling through, and it was the scene in the courtroom where they had him put on the suit and he had to walk into in the courtroom.
Yeah.
It was great, and they reinstated his ability to go back out. So that was a great movie. Love that. For all of you listening in right now to the Modern Selling Podcast, hey, don't turn that down quite yet. I want you to listen to this very important message right now. Thanks for listening to the Modern Selling Podcast. Please do me a huge favor and give the Modern Selling Podcast a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. Oh, and don't forget, if you'd like to save 20 hours or more in a month and increase your productivity, go right now and download Fly Message, that's flymsg.io, for free. It's your free text expander and personal writing assistant. Hey, thanks for listening in, and until the next episode, good selling.